For more than 20 years, Benito Mussolini ruled Italy through fear, spectacle, and force. He promised greatness. He promised pride. He promised a new Roman Empire. Instead, he led his country into ruin. And in the final days of the war, Italy answered him, not with a trial, not with mercy, but with bullets, a public square, and a gas station beam. This is the story of how a dictator who once commanded armies and parades ended his life hiding in a truck, begging for escape, and hanging upside down before the people he had ruled, a country ready to believe. Mussolini rose in the early 1920s, when Italy was exhausted and angry. The First World War had shattered the nation. Millions of soldiers returned home to unemployment and hunger. Inflation wiped out savings. Governments collapsed one after another. The political system seemed weak, useless. People wanted order. Mussolini understood that better than anyone. He presented himself as the answer, a strong man, a man of action. He called himself Il Duce, the leader, and he promised discipline, stability, and national pride. In 1922, he staged the March on Rome. Thousands of fascist supporters in black shirts marched through the capital. The government panicked. The army did nothing. King Victor Emmanuel III made a decision that would haunt Italy for decades. He handed Mussolini power. At first, many Italians welcomed it. Crime dropped. Trains ran on time. Massive construction projects reshaped cities. Mussolini's face appeared everywhere. Newspapers, posters, classrooms, radios. He controlled the press, rewrote education, turned politics into theater. But stability wasn't enough. Mussolini wanted glory, empire, and illusion. By the mid-1930s, Mussolini believed Italy could revive the greatness of ancient Rome. In 1935, he invaded Ethiopia. It was meant to be quick, triumphant. Instead, it became one of the most brutal colonial wars of the century. Italian aircraft bombed villages. Poison gas was used against civilians, women, children, entire communities. Despite international bans, thousands died. The League of Nations condemned Italy, but its response was weak. Sanctions were limited. Oil was never fully restricted. Many nations continued trading quietly. Mussolini won the war, but he lost Italy's standing in the world. Isolated and emboldened, he turned toward Adolf Hitler. In 1936, the two dictators aligned politically. In 1939, they signed the Pact of Steel, binding Italy's fate to Nazi Germany. Italy was now tied to a war it was not ready to fight. War exposes the lie. When World War II began, Mussolini waited. He wanted to join the winning side. After Germany conquered much of Europe in months, he made his move. On June 10, 1940, Italy declared war. Reality hit immediately. Italy's army was poorly equipped and badly trained. Soldiers used outdated rifles. Tanks were weak. Aircraft were obsolete. Supply lines collapsed. Communications failed. In North Africa, Italian forces were pushed back by the British. In Greece, an invasion meant to bring quick victory turned into humiliation. German troops had to rescue Mussolini's army. At home, life collapsed. By 1942, Allied bombers were destroying Italian cities. Factories shut down. Food disappeared. Families waited hours for bread. Soldiers wrote home begging for clothing and supplies. Mussolini kept giving speeches, kept promising victory. Few believed him. The night the regime fell. By the summer of 1943, Italy was breaking. On July 24th, Mussolini summoned the fascist Grand Council in Rome. He expected loyalty. For over 20 years, no one had dared oppose him. That night, they did. One by one, his closest allies turned against him. They blamed him for the war, the destruction, the deaths. After hours of debate, the vote was taken. 19 voted against Mussolini. 7 supported him. The next day, July 25th, Mussolini met with King Victor Emmanuel III. Instead of reassurance, the king told him he was dismissed and ordered his arrest. Mussolini was taken away quietly, moved between secret locations, and finally imprisoned at a remote mountain hotel at Gran Sasso. Italy erupted. Crowds celebrated in the streets. Fascist symbols were torn down. Church bells rang. After 21 years, the dictatorship was over. But Hitler was not finished with him. Rescued, but not free. Hitler was furious. In September 1943, German commandos led by Otto Skorzeny carried out a daring rescue. Using gliders, they landed beside the Gran Sasso Hotel and stormed the building without firing a shot. Mussolini was freed, but he was no longer a ruler. Hitler installed him as head of a puppet state in northern Italy, the Italian Social Republic based in Salo. Germany controlled everything. Mussolini signed papers. German officers gave orders. Resistance was crushed brutally. He had power in name only. The final days. By early 1945, the Axis powers were collapsing. Allied armies pushed north through Italy. German forces retreated. Cities lay in ruins. Civilians fled. Fascist officials abandoned Mussolini to save themselves. Meanwhile, resistance fighters, the partisans, rose openly. They were factory workers, farmers, students, women who had lost everything. On April 25, 1945, they launched a nationwide uprising. Milan fell. Mussolini knew it was over. The failed escape. That same day, Mussolini fled. He gathered his mistress Claretta Petacci, a few guards, and attempted to escape toward Switzerland. He disguised himself in a German coat and helmet, hiding in a truck filled with retreating German soldiers. 2 days later, near the village of Dongo on Lake Como, partisans stopped the convoy. They recognized him. The man who once filled balconies and stadiums now stood silent, pale, and terrified. He was taken to a farmhouse in Giulino di Mezzegra. That night, the partisans argued. Some wanted a trial. Most wanted justice. The execution. On the afternoon of April 28, 1945, Mussolini was led outside. Claretta Petacci refused to leave him. They were taken to a stone wall near an iron gate. There were no speeches, no ceremony. At approximately 4:10 p.m., gunfire ended it. Benito Mussolini was dead. The display that shocked the world. The next morning, their bodies were taken to Milan. The truck stopped at Piazzale Loreto, a square where fascists had once displayed murdered resistance fighters as a warning. Crowds gathered, thousands. People shouted, cried, cursed. Some struck the bodies. Then the partisans made their final statement. Mussolini and Petacci were hung upside down from a gas station beam. The image spread across the world. The dictator who promised eternal power ended exposed, broken, and defeated. Aftermath and judgment. Across Italy, fear turned into relief. Fascist symbols vanished. The black shirts disappeared. On May 2, 1945, German forces in Italy surrendered. Within a year, Italians voted to abolish the monarchy. Italy became a republic. Mussolini's body was buried secretly, stolen by loyalists, recovered, hidden for 11 years, and finally buried in his hometown. Even today, his grave divides the nation. What his end meant. Mussolini did not fall quietly. He fell the way he ruled, through violence, spectacle, and fear. But in the end, it was not a foreign army that judged him. It was his own people. History remembers him not as a savior, but as a warning.